Hi everyone, welcome to Master. So, for class 6, we have covered the polity syllabus for class 6 NCERT. Now, we are going to start with the history. So, our first topic is timeline and sources of history. Okay, so in this way, we one by one we will cover the geography, economics, general science. You got it right? Then we will go more deeply. Okay, let's start this timeline and sources of history. So through history we can learn about people's standards and ways of living, including their eating habits, clothing, and types of houses they lived in. We can learn about the lives of people such as hunters, farmers, rulers, merchants, artisans, musicians, scientists, etc. Now, how is the time measured in history? So, different cultures have measured time in their own ways, often beginning new eras with significant events like a ruler's region or a prophet's birth. Today, the Gregorian calendar is widely used globally, though traditional calendars like Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, Chinese, etc., remain important for religious and cultural observances, right? So now you can see the Gregorian system counts years from the assumed birth of Jesus Christ. Earlier years after his birth were marked as Anno Domini, which is AD. The MCQ can come like, what is the full form is AD, Anno Domini, now termed CE. What is the full form is CE? That is the Common Era. And years before as BC, like before Christ. Now BCE, before Common Era. For instance, 1947 CE, CE means the Common Era, marks India's independence, and 560 BCE means before Common Era is roughly when Gautama Buddha was born. Okay, now timelines are useful tools in history, displaying events in sequence and helping to visualize their chronological order, such as Buddha's birth occurring before that of Jesus. Okay, so you can see what is 560 BC means before BC means before Christ, that BCE means before Common Era, and that means Gautam Buddha born earlier than Jesus Christ. That is mentioned only here. So timelines are useful tools in history, displaying events in sequence and helping to visualize their chronological order, such as Buddha's birth occurring before that of Jesus. Now, where did people live in the past? Early humans, they used to wandered from place to place in search of food. Many people lived on the banks of the river Narmada. Okay, and they were skilled gatherers. They gathered food and knew about the vast wealth of plants in the surrounding forests. They also hunted animals. Around 8,000 years ago, the people of the Sulaiman and Kirthar hills in the northwest started growing crops such as wheat and barley. There was significant agricultural development in the Garo hills as well. Rice was first grown by people of the northern part of the Vindhyas. Apart from agriculture, they also started domesticating animals like sheep and cattle and started living in villages. Around 2500 years ago, various cities were formed around the river Ganga, its tributaries, and along the sea coasts. The southern part of the river Ganga was known as Magadha. Okay, what is known as Magadha? Southern part of river Ganga is known as the Magadha, presently located within the state of Bihar. The rulers of Magadha were very powerful. They established a huge kingdom. Okay, Magad Rajya. Magad kingdom. Okay, how did people travel in the past? Men and women used to travel from one part to another through hills and high mountains in search of livelihood or to escape from natural disasters such as floods or droughts. Merchants traveled with ships and caravans with their valuable goods. Many religious teachers wandered from one place to another to propagate their religious messages. Natural frontiers such as hills, mountains, and seas were difficult to cross, but they didn't become barriers for people. Many came and settled in the subcontinent. Names of the land. Our country is known by two names, India and Bharat. India. Foreigners also had their own names. Persians called it Hind or Hindu, and Greeks called it Indoi. Okay, so Persians called it like Hind or Hindu, and Greeks called it as Indoi. Over time, all these names led to the name India. Today, the Constitution of India begins with the phrase India, that is Bharat, showing how both names are still used. Bharat. Ancient Indian texts like the Rig Veda called it Sapta Sindhava. Okay, Sapta Sindhava, meaning the land of seven rivers. The word Bharatavarsa, okay, meaning the land of the Bharatas, appeared in texts like the Mahabharata. Another name was Jambudvipa, okay, meaning the island of jamun fruit. Jambudvipa. Why? So it's the land of jamun fruit. That's why. Now finding out about the past. Now manuscripts. The word manuscripts comes from the Latin word manu, meaning hand. Manuscripts are books written by hand on palm leaves, often in Sanskrit, Prakrit, the language of ordinary people, and Tamil. These books provide information about religious practices, medicines, science, etc. Over the years, many manuscripts have been eaten away by insects or been destroyed, but many have survived, often preserved in temples and monasteries. Inscriptions. Inscriptions are writings on relatively hard surfaces such as stone or metal. Kings got their orders inscribed so that people could see, read, and obey them. Archaeology, the study of human history and prehistory through the excavation of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical remains. The inscriptions and manuscripts are studied by archaeologists. Archaeologists study and explore the remains of buildings made of stone and brick, as well as paintings and sculptures. Thus, there are three sources to know about the past: manuscripts, inscriptions, and archaeology. Okay, what are those? Manuscripts, inscriptions, and archaeology. Got it? Okay. Now, see some keywords like decade. A decade is period of 10 years. Century refers to 100 years. In CE means common era. Centuries start from 1 CE. For example, the 21st century runs from 2001 to 2100. In BCE means before common era. Centuries count backward. The 3rd century BCE spans from 300 to 201 BCE. Millennium. A millennium is a period of 1000 years. The 3rd millennium CE begins in 2001 and will last until 3000. Okay. Similarly, in BCE, the first millennium spans from 1000 to 1 BCE. Now, different people with different pasts. Okay, so farmers' lives different from those of kings and queens, and the experiences of merchants and craftsmen were distinct as well. Now, kings used to keep records of their battles and victories, okay, whereas hunters, fishing folk, gatherers, farmers, and herders didn't keep many records. Therefore, much the lives of those people remains unknown. Ashoka's inscription in Kandahar, a 2250-year-old rock inscription, was found in Kandahar, present day Afghanistan. Now see the sources of history. So oral sources, inscriptions, structures, then excavations, then Indian literature, foreign accounts, artistic sources. These are the main sources actually. Okay. Now if we will divide those things in many subtypes, so oral sources we can divide it like folklore, genealogical. Okay. Inscriptions are like manuscripts, copper plates, coins. Structures are like monuments, mounds. Then excavations are like human and animal and plant remains, tools and weapons. Then figurines and ornaments, pottery and toys, habitations and burials. Then inside Indian literature, this is Vedic literature, poems and plays, historical texts, collection of stories, scientific and technological texts. Then foreign accounts are like travelogues, then historical chronicles. Then artistic sources are like paintings, sculptures, panels. Okay. Now it was like inscribed the orders of a ruler named Ashoka, and is written in Greek and Aramaic languages. Okay. Now what is decipherment? Now inscriptions contain scripts and languages. Languages and scripts have continuously transformed over time. Decipherment is the technique of identifying the languages and scripts inscribed on the inscriptions. Okay. So suppose Ashoka's inscriptions, what is being found in the Kandahar, so in that time the language was different, so script was different. So now suppose it's hard to believe like that, how hard to read like what scripts or what language was there. So now what is happening, so through this decipherment, that's the process actually, we can understand those scripts and languages. As time by time it got changed, so we can learn or we can research about those transformations, and we can get what was there. Okay. So that's the process actually, that process is known as the decipherment. Now do you know we count dates and years from the birth of Jesus Christ? You must have heard about BC and AD. All the dates before the birth of Christ are counted backward and usually have the letters BC before Christ, now called the Common Era or CE across the world. The years after the birth of Jesus Christ are often suffixed with the letters AD, Anno Domini, which means in the year of the Lord Christ, now called before Common Era or BCE. Okay. So that's the first chapter. Okay. We will again discuss in the next lecture about the next topic. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So till then, just do like, share and subscribe more and more, so that we will discuss more and more about such UPSC topics. Okay. So thanks everyone.